That's already here?
Yeah. Is everybody ready? So I will call the meeting of Middleton Common Council for Tuesday, November 22nd, 2017 to order. And the first of my item is the roll call.
Bert?
Here.
Olson? Here. Sullivan?
Here.
Ramsey?
Here.
Bashar? Here. Steele? West?
Present.
Patrick? Here. All present.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda is the comment from the citizen present. Anybody wants to speak? Ma'am?
Yes. And Middleton Chamber of Commerce. Just wanted to give you a reminder that Saturday is Small Business Saturday. So if you have an opportunity and you're out shopping, stop at one of our local small businesses. Do that every day. Don't limit yourself to this Saturday, of course. But small business represents a huge chunk of employment in the state and a huge chunk of the businesses. Our average member has 8 employees, which for a lot of the small businesses is quite a few employees. But just a reminder, American Express has had this thing for some number of years. A lot of communities have jumped on board. So remember small businesses this holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Anybody else? Okay, so the next item is the presentation from the Dane County Housing. Do we have it, Mike? The presentation from Dane County Housing video.
Oh, we were told that the video is not ready, so we're not showing it tonight. We'll show it at the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you. So the next item is the approval of consent agenda.
Move approval. Second.
Okay, the motion is the approval of the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so the motion passes unanimously. The next one is the old business. Refocus for partnership in Middleton Craftland Area School District. Redevelopment on Clark Street. Mike, you want to take it?
Sure. I wrote quite a bit in my agenda comments about this. If you want me, I can repeat a lot of that, or we can go further into the substance. But the upshot is that the school district has decided for high school expansion that they want to expand on site. So they have a combination of expanding to the north and to the south of their campus modifications that they're looking at right now as their option that they will take to referendum in November of 18. So when we discussed this partnership, and some of that was in closed session, and then the actions for the acquisition of property were made in open session, as well as the relocation plan for the tenants. That was back in May. But it was, the original impetus was for the high school expansion, but at the time we also explained the private-public partnership. The school district's still very interested in that engagement with the private sector that could benefit their students through learning opportunities, apprenticeships, internships. But there's a different focus now than originally. There would not be any high school building on the site, but it would be proximate to the high school campus, and the higher and better use of the property could be fulfilled through a redevelopment of the site, an RFP process for developers, and with a scope of work that would include that kind of partnership with the high school and the school district. The cost situation is different, and much as with other redevelopment projects that we've had in the city over a long period of time with TIF projects, and this is in the TIF district number 5, so that it has a life all the way to the year 2036, and payments end in 2031. So similar to our downtown, we're looking at property that was not the highest and best use in the downtown. We had relocations. We paid $600,000 to relocate Middleton Ford as an incentive payment, as well as the actual costs, some actual costs as well. We acquired properties, we demolished several, we put an RFP together for the downtown area, and it brought in about $23 million in value that we did not have heretofore. Now with the Pine Center and the Pole Camp building, there's the ability to go up on those two sites that we don't currently have with those buildings. Both property owners are still interested in selling their land to the city, even if it's not going towards a high school building. So we've got that cleared up with them. One fact was very concerned because they heard that the high school wasn't going to expand on that site because they do want to sell the property. So I told them we'd be bringing it up for discussion at the meeting tonight and for essentially your vote to continue with the process. Now we are in the process of getting appraisals. We have, I just looked over the relocation plan, some relocation plan numbers today. Bill, did you have a chance to look that over? It looked like it was going to be up to about $10,000 per tenant for 15 tenants.
It was only $20,000 per tenant.
$20,000.
For the, in lieu of moving expenses,
Oh,
plus
okay.
additional relocation on top
All
of
right,
it.
I didn't see
Probably-
that 20,000.
My understanding was it was over $500,000, potentially just some relocation costs.
Okay. So I just want to, make sure you understand that the cost of relocation can be substantial. So Bill's saying it would be less than $500,000? It's 15 tenants, so if it's 15 times 20, it'd be 300,000.
Right, but there's other costs on top of that, and exactly how much depends on what their actual expenses would be, so I ballpark $500,000.
And the cost of acquisition are another aspect of that, as well as any environmental remediation. We don't know the extent of that, whether it would even be necessary at this point. So what we're asking for is, or I'm asking for, is your continuation process to allow us to bring those things back to you and look at a private redevelopment of the site. The positive thing is not only the partnership with the school district, but we're talking about taxable value of the property. Before, the school district was looking at taking about 3/4 of the site, so it wouldn't have had as much taxable value. And I think that's the essential summary for you.
So would another option be that we could just let the properties continue to be in business, and if a developer comes along, they can acquire that themselves, and the city won't have to be a partner until they have a plan that comes before for a TIF project. But it seems to me to take them off the property tax rolls, to have really no plan in place to move forward with the developer, seems short-sighted to me.
But we would put a plan in place.
But it's our plan instead of a developer coming to a plan. I mean, why can't we just let the market work here?
The market might not be as generous with the school district in terms of that kind of cooperation and partnership.
Well, the school district dropped out of our cooperation. That's how I looked at it. They didn't want to partner with us there.
Well, they do want to partner with us, but they don't want to put a public building there.
Mike Olson, I'm
I don't want to
curious,
put any cash up.
Yeah.
if we didn't do anything, this could be developed into 2 smaller parcels that potentially are less desirable in the long run.
Well, that's the way I'm viewing it.
Individual
I think it's an opportunity for us to get a higher and better value. It's
Well, that's what I'm
identified in TIF District Number 5 for that purpose.
By the city being involved, we can get a larger, bigger, more valuable project in the long run versus 2 smaller projects that might not be a whole lot bigger than what's already there.
Right. It could be that way.
Yes. We
It's
just
hard to
don't
say.
know.
I mean, there could be a developer that assembles more properties together
Yeah.
as
Like a
well.
golf club.
So Mike, do we know just the approximate cost, what it might be, and then whoever it is, we will recover?
No, I don't.
So,
have the appraisals yet.
so we will make sure that whatever we spend, we'll try to recover it? I mean,
And then some.
and then some?
If you buy the property for a couple $1 million, this is the same thing as we did on downtown years ago. Exactly the same thing. It said, hey, the Pet Mill building and all that property down there has a much higher use than what it's currently being used for.
Right.
City went and bought it, relocated the people on it, bulldozed everything in a hole, turned around and sold it. So it's worth what, 20 million, 23 million? you said?
23 million at the time.
23 million.
Much more than that.
Now, it sometimes takes a little while to do that. Okay, this doesn't happen overnight, but if you don't start the process of getting it done, you'll never get it done.
Right.
It's not to say that the marketplace couldn't do something like this, but if you have an semblance of property like this, where it could be beneficial to a bigger use than a couple little small, places, I hate to say the same thing, but I don't know that a lot of people have the stomach for having the city get into the real estate business. But there are certain times and certain conditions when you have to do that. It's beneficial to the city in the long run to do that.
Well, I think it could be very beneficial to the high school as well.
My only concern is you keep saying about the cooperation or the agreement or whatever you want to call it between the city and high school. You need to
That's
find a
really
little bit better what that means. Otherwise, once the high school backed out of use of that property, to me, they're off on going to do their own thing over on their own property. And while they would like to see that something happen down there, they don't have any skin in the game.
Dan?
And I agree with what Howard just said. I don't think it's defined very well as far as what that partnership will be. The other thing is, at this point then, we're kind of limiting what that property can be used for, according to your scenario here, some kind of public-private partnership. So what happens if nobody is interested in that? I mean, then we've got this piece of property that we bought, relocated everybody, but all of a sudden then, well, yes, you have to worry about that, because if you sell it to people as some kind of public-private partnership, it's for the school, that's limiting.
Well, you have to
But do
decide
we
what the
have-
private partnership is with the school.
But do we
That's
have
first.
to even decide that there will be, consider that there will be a private partnership, public-private?
That's how it's being discussed now.
Well, that's how I'm presenting it. You wouldn't have to do that.
Yeah,
You
that's
could
what I
just
was
look
wondering.
as a pure private redevelopment
Yes.
as well. I'm just aware, and I know Van heard this presentation. Van's still here, right? Yep. From George Mavrolis about the projected enrollment in the high school over time. And they are tremendously successful. They're at about 2,100 now. And they're projecting out to 2,900 by the year 3000.
Wow.
Excuse me, 2030. Put my 3 in the wrong place. So by 2030, they're looking at 2,900 in student enrollment, and so they're planning for that. And I think they're going to need that kind of partnership with the city if they're going to make that work.
Right, well then they should think about that right now and try to keep this public-private partnership going. But I can see all sorts of things going in there that would not work with the high school, that would be to our advantage.
Oh, Howard.
But the current market, if you just took it out on the market, there wouldn't be any retail, probably not much office without the city getting involved with it there.
Doesn't have to be residential, it could be manufacturing. The mayor's biotech research.
Well, that in fact I think could be dovetailed very nicely with this whole concept, because that kind of biotech research
wouldn't
or
necessarily
research
be-
park concept
That's
could have
necessarily
opportunities with the school district.
I don't think so, Mike. There's huge safety issues there. But the business would probably not let that many high school kids in.
It depends on the business, of course.
But some of the ones that I could
Howard?
mention,
In summary, Mike, the school said, no, we don't want to build over there, we're going to build on our existing property, so that leaves the city to do what it wants to do. And the question that you're presenting to us is, do you want us to continue to agree with you, to continue with this process, to relocate and to purchase that property, and to make it available for sale? Is that what you're saying?
Right, and at every stage,
In summary,
when you
that's what
see
you're
the appraisals, you would have the opportunity to say yes or no. Same thing with the relocation.
We've been through this, yeah, we've done this before. This is not, it's not like we don't know what we're doing with this. Did the school say anything about what they're gonna, how they're gonna
you're all those
build
kids.
for the, are they
gonna
gonna
lose a
come marching
football.
in here and look for Fireman's Park one of these days to put more school to the west, or?
No, I discourage that strongly.
You did,
Yes.
good man.
Joanna, you had something to say?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question of the mayor.
Yes.
What is your thought on this proposal?
Well, if the school was involved, I was all for it. So
They're not, now what?
I have some mixed feelings. I have to know more details.
What kind of details are you looking
Yeah,
at?
the cost, the expense, and how much we have to pay, and then I have to probably talk to some other people as well who might be interested in having some business incubator or some of the other things. But it all depends on,
Right now, we can't,
Right now, the question in front of us is, should we continue with this process? And that's what I'm looking for you. Do you agree with that or not?
I think I would have problem with that right now, continuing with this and then at least getting the appraisal values and then we could make a decision.
but Gurdeep, on the other hand, this research park concept that you're so interested in, that's not going to happen unless the city takes the lead role on it. That doesn't just happen by the private sector creating a research park and providing affordable opportunities for small startups to the community.
It would be much easier if it was in TIF city. It's in TIF 5, that's the big problem here.
No, TID 5 gets advances from TID 3, so it's actually in a better position because it pays off through the year 2036 as opposed to the year 2030.
2025.
2025 for TID 3, 2031 for, but you can pay through on adult finance through the year 2036 is my point.
So we could transfer the TIF 3 money to TIF 5 for this purpose.
Yes. Yeah, we're allowed to, and it's in our TID 5 and TID 3 plans to donate from TID 3 to TID 5
Yeah, I guess then.
without being paid.
That is in TIF 5 is a big advantage to this piece of
Yes.
property. Because
We've
it's
been talking
term
about
is
that.
much longer,
Right.
much greater chance of working through the process. And everybody that walks through the door wants TIF money for something, so you can expect that to happen no matter what.
And that's how we're going to get TIF 5 going, actually.
But if we want to have a property that is enabling us to help small startups with great ideas to expand, this is an ideal location to do it. It doesn't have to be biotech with safety hazards. It can be other technology-oriented businesses that have a connection with the school district.
Yeah, it could be software and so many other things as well.
So when that person comes forward, come back. That's my approach. I don't know why we'd want to take anything off the property tax rolls right now without any vision for what that could be and what any developer would want to be there. It seems premature to me. And I think it's expensive. I'm not willing to move forward because there's no vision there yet.
We do have a vision for it.
You have the
Just
school's
have-
vision though, and that's no longer applicable.
Go ahead.
From my perspective, I think, this would be a good assemblage of property. There's nothing that says that once we acquire it, that we have to kick the tenants out. There would be nothing wrong with us being landlords for a while until something comes along.
Yeah, but you know what renters do, they don't rent the property because they don't know how long they're gonna be able to be there. So then your values go down, because you have no renters.
But we don't even know.
Look what happened to Middleton Center.
But we don't know what things are here until we go through some of this process, right? It's not gonna hurt us to go through and say, you know what, the land value is X. There's a potential rental income for so many years before we decide to do something. It's not gonna hurt us to explore this, to just take a look at it. You can make a decision at some point in the future that says yes or no, I don't wanna be in this business. But it's not gonna hurt us to say, let's go through this and let's see what happens from a scenario perspective on what potential is there.
Mike, do you need a motion from us or just a sense of where
I just think it's important it's obvious that this is important because there's differences of opinion here on what we should do. And I think, yeah, it's important that we have a motion that expresses the will of the council moving forward with these properties. Because we've invested already some time and money into the relocation plan. It's not significant money yet, like we're talking about if we buy and relocate tenants, but it's an investment that we've made on the prospect that we have partnership on that site with the school district. And I guess just, one last thing, if Joanne, I know that you remember what downtown looked like before we did all of that work. You were here when Middleton Ford was there.
I remember Middleton
The
Ford.
decarb.
I do, but I don't think that's not comparable to me, because you have developer right across the creek that has a vision for what they want to do with that property. And they've done that with TIF assistance with their vision.
Right.
And that's going to happen. I'm convinced that they're going to build that out. They did that on their own. It wasn't the city acquiring that property for them first. So I think that corridor is developable without the city having to upfront and buy property. I think it's going to happen with a developer that wants to come in there with a vision. I don't see why the city would have to advance it.
I understand your perspective. It's the market-based perspective as opposed to the city intervening in the market to make something happen to our goals, public goals that we set out. But it could be that a private developer does the same thing, we just don't know.
So,
And one step doesn't preclude the other. That's the thing, right?
You get deeper and deeper in that hole.
But you have that opportunity at any point in the time, at any point in the future to say, you know what, we don't want to do this. We've looked at it, we said that it's not going to work for whatever ideals you have. Let's get out and let this thing go private. Or you can take the other tack that says, you know what, it would be good for the city if we tried to stoke the fires a little bit. So nothing precludes any future action here. It's just all we're doing is getting information.
I would like to make a motion that the city continue to proceed without participation from the school district for a strictly private project. I'll stop there.
but you would like the city to keep on conversing with the school district in case they do have interest?
No, the school district has said they don't have any interest, so if they want to come back, we would reconsider it, but my motion is for us to proceed by ourselves.
Just before you say anything further, George Membrell has told me that they're still interested in partnering with the city. What they're not doing is acquiring the property that we're in the process
In terms of property acquisition and development,
So
the city needs to be the lead one.
Yes.
Correct.
my question then
But you
is,
still want to see if there's a second.
Okay, yes, let's first see, is there a second?
all right, I'll second. So
Okay.
When you say partnering with the city, what does that mean?
that's my question too. We're hearing you say that George is saying that they'd still like to partner with us.
What does that mean?
What does it look like?
Well,
That's pretty vague.
George and the staff are enthused about the prospect of private development that will work with the school district to provide apprenticeships, internships, job opportunities, both for students who are looking at technical education as well as students who are looking, past towards a bachelor's and beyond. So I think they're looking at how this can benefit students all together.
Mike, that could be done all over the downtown area. they let their students loose at lunchtime, and you can see them all over downtown. So there are plenty of businesses that could work with that part to get them over there for time.
But in this,
But the other thing is, that's the school district's staff. The school board seems to have a different opinion. I think we need to move forward and not base this solely on the school district or counting on them taking a part.
Well,
They
I'm in
could come
agreement.
back and be a part of it in the future, depending on what develops out.
Correct.
But I don't think we need to tie it to the school district.
Could I offer a friendly amendment to your motion,
Yes.
just such that we explore whatever uses will bring about the highest and best use?
That's basically what I was trying to say.
Well, except you limited it to private, and I'm not
Okay.
saying that. So let's
Okay.
explore what will bring about the highest and best use.
see, we had some discussion with the school district and hopefully create some discovery center, innovation
I don't have a
center.
problem with that. I don't
You had
want them
discussions with the
directing
school
it.
district? You had discussions?
Yeah, with the school board president and the job owners, yes.
You had discussions with them? Was there anybody else involved in those discussions here?
No, it was me and the school board president and job owners and the high school principal and two high school principals.
Okay, thank you.
Art, I've had staff level discussions with the school representatives for several months
I
on this
just want to
project.
make sure if the school board is saying something, or if the
Right.
principals or who's
They're-
saying what,
They're saying the same thing to the mayors as they're saying to me.
that it gets communicated past the discussion stage.
And I do believe
If
that
the city's going to be
Susan's,
involved in this, it sure, with the school in any way, it sure as the heck ought to be right out on the
right,
table.
and I think if George were here, he would say he has no problem with the motion that Susan made. And that gives us still the opportunity to find ways that we can synergize. But the city has to do what's in the city's best interest.
Exactly. If we've got all the skin in the game, guess what?
Okay, any other discussion?
So you accept my amendment?
Yes.
Robert, you have something?
Something that nice and best interest.
Okay, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Could you provide the motion?
And the motion is to go forward with this property without the partnership with the school district and
Highest and
that's
best
not-
use.
That's not what it says.
Mike, you want to mention?
It's going to be different than what it's phrased on the agenda, Elizabeth. The way it's phrased on the agenda is refocus for partnership with the school district. But I would say, I characterize it as the council's moving ahead on the redevelopment of the site for the highest and best use. That's
Okay, and that is with, TIF 5.
Yes,
It is
yes,
a
TID 5 funding
Okay,
Potentially.
through TID 3.
Potentially.
Potentially.
So now the ones who are opposed to the motion.
I'm opposed.
And Elizabeth, you didn't vote either way. Are you opposed?
no,
You said
Are you in favor of it or you are opposed?
I am in favor of the motion.
Okay, so 7-1. Okay, all right. Thank you, everyone. So the next one is the agreements. The first one is the agreement with Hilwaker and Associates for Park Street reconstruction design engineering services.
I'll move approval.
Recommended by finance.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? The motion is to approve the agreement with
Actually,
Hilwaker.
we can't do it this way. Are you going to do just the agreement first or with the funding as well?
they were rolled together at the
They were
finance.
rolled together.
As I said, by the way the finance
Yeah,
committee did
so-
that, roll both of them together.
Okay, so, but that means everybody has to understand, this is a budget amendment for 17 and 18. We are moving budget funds from the 18 plan into 17, so it requires a 6 of 8 approval.
You take number 1 under agreements and number 1 under budget, roll them together, that's what it does.
Yeah,
So everybody understand that? So what we're doing is essentially advancing a capital project from 18 into 17. And the only way to do that is through a budget amendment.
Mark's check.
Elizabeth, you understand it?
I do. Thank you for explaining that.
Okay. Okay, any discussion? Okay, then all those in favor of the motion combining number one agreements and number one under budget, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. So the next one is the agreement with the town of Westport and the community of Bishop Bay for the construction of city water meter station on Outlot 16.
Move approval is recommended by Public Works and Finance.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Finance did that.
Oh, Finance didn't do it? Oh,
No.
sorry.
That's okay.
Public Works.
That's okay.
Okay, all those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, sorry. Okay, so the motion passes unanimously. Number 3, request for tax incremental district number 5 assistance, 3-star mixed-use growth plan including Middleton Market.
So finance did not act on this.
Finance did not act on this. A motion that's called.
Did finance prefer?
No, finance did not act on this.
So it's up to the council.
I'll move approval.
Okay. Need a
Am I
second?
missing something why there is lack of support from the council for this? Someone want to explain that?
Okay, we need a second.
Other than Terrence Wall's objection?
No.
Robert, you second?
I was just going to second so we can have conversations on this
Okay.
topic.
Okay. Okay, all right, so let's now have a discussion.
And Joanna, you mentioned objections made by Terrence Wall toward this development, and I don't know how much that's been made public, but if you have questions about that, I'd be happy to address those questions. Because I
Terrence's
think,
questions?
well, Terrence Wall has
Yeah, I
since-
don't have questions about Terrence's
Okay.
questions. I have concerns about this project.
Okay. I'm just saying that if that is underlying any
No.
hesitancy on the project, I'd be happy to address questions with that.
So are there any questions that you want to raise, Susan?
Yeah, I have, this project I have seen from the beginning. And back in the summer, I went to the TIF meetings where it was first brought up. It's the retail part in that area, I see is it's going to be vacant for a significantly long time. And I'm comparing it to the experience of Middleton Hills with our retail area, which started about 14 years ago and had a huge anchor of a grocery store there that did bring in retail. We still, in Middleton Hills, that main building is essentially vacant and for sale, with a 400 residence neighborhood around it. And when that went in, that was the only grocery store in Middleton. This one is out in an open field in an area that doesn't have high traffic. It's off the main road. I don't see the retail part succeeding. And I've looked at the building in Monona that was developed by this developer. The retail there is empty. I also have serious concerns about the outside materials. It's a compressed wood with a finish over it, paintwork finish over it. Walking by the building, I could see corners on all of those wooden panels where that finish had come off, so it was now exposed to rain, weather. That's not going to hold up very long on the outside of the building. This is a huge project to see that kind of materials being used in it. I've also just got basic concerns about the architectural design. I still would prefer that street to be public instead of a private street. Those are smaller issues, but my big concerns are I don't have confidence in the retail getting developed and the materials that are being used. And I think the materials, this level of materials needs to be decided on before we grant TIF money, because it's going to have a huge impact on the cost of the overall cost of the project. And when you look at the other apartment buildings done recently in Middleton, significant amounts are both brick and stone. I haven't seen one with this amount of wood material on it. So those are my big concerns on it.
Okay, yes, Elliot, could you?
I understand what you're saying. I just wanted to point out that the Planning Commission's recommendation, and this is going back to the zoning, not the TIF request, but they already did conceptually approve the TIF request as well. But on the zoning, they made it very clear in the motion that it was not for the materials and architecture, that it was for the uses, the apartments and the retail and the market. And I also understand what you're saying about the retail, but we asked specific, am I too loud? Should I be a little further away? Sorry, what a blast anybody. We asked about the retail, and the majority of the retail, other than the market, which she would like to do, is more service oriented. She mentioned a spa and a dentist or chiropractor. Yeah. So it's more of a service.
Those are the same sorts of things. We've got a lot of that in Middleton Hills, and it took forever to get them in there.
Sure.
That's the point. Mm-hmm. My other concern, though, also in terms of the materials, is on the total cost of the project and her ability then to get funding outside of what we're giving for TIF.
Sure.
That can cover that.
You'd like it known up front what that is.
Yes.
You'd like the design and the materials and the architecture to be.
Right, and to get a good feel that she can get the funding to cover that.
I just wanted to point out that the Planning Commission didn't specifically approve that, and you're saying approve it first.
And she's applying for a HUD grant, which requires construction type drawings, as I understand, to get the HUD grant. That's going to require having the materials.
Sure.
Ellie, the Plan Commission has some rather large and outstanding problems with this project. Is that a fair statement?
I don't like the word problems, but
okay. Concerns about
issues to be worked out.
Issues to be worked out.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I've always thought we do backwards in this place is that we come with we have developments come in and we have projects that start and they go before the various committees and commissions. They all make a list of things. They go to the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission says, yeah, this is okay, but for, and come up with a list of things that are still wrong.
Sure.
As soon as you get that done, the next week we see them over here asking for gazillions of dollars in TIF and approval for their project. Now, to me, unless the Plan Commission doesn't have this level of concern, I don't know why we would want to be seeing this kind of a request sitting here now without those questions being taken care of.
I understand completely.
That's the main reason why I didn't say a word when this came up, because I don't think it's ready for prime time.
You want all those things worked out
This
first.
is prime time that you're dealing with right here, not you know, some restaurant over lunch that says, yeah, we're going to do this. So that's why I didn't. That would be my major objection until the Plan Commission is all done with something this complex, and they've heard everybody and they've got everything worked out, and they don't have a motion that says, except for these things that you'll work out later. Don't come back and talk to us.
And this development is going to set the tone for the rest of that whole area.
It's a transformative
and
development.
So it's extremely important that we get it right.
Yeah, that's true. You're absolutely right.
So I would move tabling then of a motion.
Okay, you accept that?
But yeah,
We have to dispose of it.
I agree. We had a motion already up. We need to dispose of the first motion before.
No, the
No,
motion to
table it
table
is
supersedes.
Okay, thank you.
It'll have to be adopted by the council, of course.
I would second that motion to table.
Okay, so any discussion about tabling this motion? No discussion? Okay,
I'm sorry.
he says no discussion.
The motion to table just gets voted on.
Okay, all those in favor of tabling this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously.
Okay, it's tabled.
So are we still going with number 4 or is that
That's different.
number 4
No, number 4 is
I
not
think
ready for
the-
prime time either.
is not ready? So.
I'll move deferral.
Okay.
Second.
So the next one is the,
Still need one.
oh, okay, I apologize. So all those in favor of adopting this number 4, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So passes unanimously. So the next one is the Cardinal Row Agreement, City Attorney.
Move approval as recommended by finance.
Second.
Any discussion?
It might be helpful for someone to explain to Elizabeth what the finance motion was.
Explain it?
Do you want to do that, Mark, or should I? You're sitting right next to her.
We move to approve it.
Virtual.
You move to approve, mass contract?
Correct. As amended, I think there were a couple of minor
Yeah.
edits to it.
Okay, then I'm going to, the motion is to approve the Cardinal Row Agreement as approved by the Finance Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So we already did the budget part, we are on to the miscellaneous. Capital asset policy.
I'll move that we defer this until it comes back to finance with edits.
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor of declaring it, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so motion passes unanimously. So the next one is the interfund asset transfer of property on the golf course site in terms of interfund transfer to the golf course fund.
I'll move we approve as amended by finance.
Second.
What was the amendment by finance?
It just broke out the transactions in it was the second
Option 2.
option 2,
Option number 2?
but it also disclosed a little bit clearer, I think, hopefully clearer, the substantive transactions that needed to take place to document this transfer.
I'd just like to say, I think this is heavily weighted towards the benefit of the golf course, and I'm going to be voting no on it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Otherwise, all those in favor of this motion for interfund asset transfer as proposed by the Finance Committee say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Aye.
7 to 1. So the next one is cancel the Common Council regularly scheduled meeting of December 19, 2017.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, and all those in favor of canceling the Common Council meeting for December 19, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes.
Okay.
So do we want to take that GIP for first mixed use development? Or do we-
Move deferral.
Second.
Any discussion? All those,
Earl.
Default, thank you, I heard approval. Okay, thank you.
all those in favor of this motion say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. The next one is the general implementation plan for gateway residential redevelopment.
Move approval as recommended by Planning Commission for 6 lots.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, Howard.
Plan Commission come up with a long laundry list of things that they liked or disliked, or they needed to be renegotiated or changed, or anything. Just coming out of Plan Commission nice and clean and fly away with it.
Howard, if you look at the back of the rezoning ordinance, which is under the ordinance section of your packet, Exhibit A lists the 4 bullets that were the contingencies adopted with the Planning Commission, including preparation of a plat containing no more than 6 single-family lots, submittal of an SFP consistent with our ordinance, of course, the project meeting the city's stormwater runoff control ordinance, which in this case requires having on-site controls, and confirmation that the downstream conveyance is adequate to handle post-development runoff, and resolution of all other staff comments that we usually have.
And the stormwater issue is going to be solved as required by ordinance, correct?
Yeah, they'll be following the ordinance. We didn't have all those details at the GIP level, so we want to make sure that they address that when they come back with the SIP.
And just a technical point, I would prefer that the conditions be part of the GIP rather than part of the ordinance, because this is not the type of ordinance we would typically do as deferred effective, since it's going to expire anyway if we don't get an SIP that meets with everybody's satisfaction. So I have no problem with the conditions, I just prefer them to be part of the motion on approval of the GIP, not with the ordinance.
At the Plan Commission level, that's what they did.
Okay.
So, but I put them in the ordinance because that's how we did it for Middleton Station. I guess I should have double-checked that with you. I just took that template from that.
But we're not voting on the ordinance.
I understand, but I agree with, of course, would agree with what Larry's saying, that be part of the motion. Yeah.
Can I amend my motion to include the conditions as part of this approval?
Malcolm, agree with that.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, then the motion is for the GIP for the gateway residential redevelopment as approved by the Planning Commission. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, so the motion passes. So the next is the ordinances, and this is the first reading. The final action may be taken upon approval of the motion to suspend rules under section 1.07. So the first one is the ordinance to rezone land from highway P3 to planned development district GIP for Trista mixed-use development.
Will we defer this?
Second.
So, all those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so the motion passes unanimously. The next one is the ordinance to rezone land from R1 single-family residential to planned development district infill, GIP. This is the gateway properties.
I move approval.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, there's in section 1 of the ordinance on line 5, it would be section 10 is fine, but insert point 94, which is the PDD infill standards, and then and I think I'm going to have to rework section 3 as well, because it refers to Exhibit A, but the way it's worded on the rejected ordinance, the deferred ordinance on Tresta is exactly how I would put it into this ordinance.
So with the city attorney's edits?
Yeah.
Okay. All those
Did
in
Elizabeth understand what the ordinance was, or the motion is?
Yes, we're approving the ordinance with all the changes from there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next one is the ordinance to amend section 9.05 related to sanitary sewer rates. And Sean asked that we should suspend the rules and
I'll make a motion that we approve, as recommended by finance, with a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
okay, any discussion? All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so the motion passes. The next one is the ordinance to amend section 3.10 related to room tax.
I'll move approval.
Second.
You want to suspend the rules? The,
Oh, I guess so, yes, sorry.
What is,
Suspend the rules for
Okay.
immediate.
okay, all right,
Yes.
any discussion? All those in favor of this motion say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Aye.
7-1.
Sure. Trying to make sure
Earn your salary. Sorry.
Is your one disagreement for the night, or?
Okay, so the resolution 2017-44 establishing 2018 salaries for non-represented employees.
I'll move approval as recommended by personnel and finance.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of this motion say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. The next one is 2017-45 establishing 2018 EMS fee schedule.
Move approval is recommended by finance.
Second.
Right.
Any discussion?
Borough means it'll come back up.
All those in favor of this motion say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. Well, happy Thanksgiving to everybody and we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.